Hi, this is BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids to be, look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share great online info they find offline as better people making better places to live wherever they live. So check out manforwars.com for more on that. But this video is called Corrupt Swedish Church Admits Patriarchal Masculinity Needed to Protect Borders. And this is really, really important these days because for people out there that don't understand, protecting borders protects people and protects cultures and protects countries. And so it's really, really important to understand that. And the people that have traditionally fought for their borders and their countries, whether it's a tribe or a village or whatever, their people and where they live essentially for the last, several thousand years have been men, and the destruction of men is not so that they can advance the cause of women or gays or trans or anything like that. It's so that they can take out the people that typically fight against them. So that's why there's all these attacks on masculinity. So I'll take you an article from Breitbart News called Sweden. Malmo churches ring bells for Greta Thunberg's climate strike. There it is from Breitbart. And it's by Chris Tomlinson from September 29th, 2019. And there you go. Now, it says here, churches in the multicultural Swedish city of Malmo collectively rang their bells to support the climate strike movement led by Swedish teen Greta Thunberg. Now, the idea that a 16-year-old child, as many have talked about, who has admitted to having mental illness problems, anorexia, depression, Asperger's syndrome, among other issues, is somebody we should look to as a saint, as somebody who should decide global environmental policy is completely insane. But communists often use kids and brainwash, kind of kids into hating their parents and seeing the state as their parent and their true guardian, and then using those kids to attack parents. So this is something that all adults have to fear when it comes to this coming generation of kids kind of brainwashed into climate anxiety, into freaking out about how the world may end in a few years. And as a Canadian People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier, currently running for Prime Minister of Canada, said, "It is not responsible. You cannot do that." He was in a room with a bunch of Toronto Star reporters, left-wing paper, and he legitimately red-pilled them by taking their questions straight, answering them straight, and having them in real time kind of look ashamed at the sort of inquisition that they were putting Maxime Bernier through. Now, those same Toronto Star reporters might, leave a situation like that, have some time to compose themselves, and then think about, an article to sort of spin what he was saying badly. But in real time, in an interview with 7, 8 Toronto Star reporters in a room with Maxime Bernier, he did an amazing job of sort of red-pilling them, just kind of like a stand-up comic. Right? You could have a stand-up comic who makes a joke about a taboo subject, and then the audience instinctively laughs. Now, if the audience was to sort of think about that, process it, leave later, they could say the right politically correct thing to sort of reinforce the taboo. But the stand-up comic kind of gets you with their logic, with their wit, with their humor, and so on. And so Maxime did a great job with that. And you can find that video at my channel, by the way, my BitChute YouTube channel, Maxime Bernier Red Pills the Toronto Star. I strongly recommend you take a look, because for everyone out there trying to communicate in these areas, seeing people you admire who can do it in a very calm, straightforward, thoughtful, compassionate way is something that we can all learn from, as well as people who get more histrionic, worked up, and so on about it. There are many ways that we can learn from if we are in the business of trying to communicate to other people to help them save themselves, families, friends, and future when it comes to these issues. So back to this article. It says here the bells rang out at lunchtime on Friday as part of the global climate strike that saw 150 separate demonstrations across Sweden, Aftonbladet, Swedish newspaper, reports. Church of Sweden priest Sophia Thunborough, female priest, Church of Sweden, commented on the move saying, quote, "We are all people, and regardless of who we are, what we believe in, or what our position is, We are in desperate need of the climate and our planet. We talk a lot about protecting creation by protecting man. So like a lot of socialists, left-wingers, and so on, a lot of what they say sounds good. And that's why a lot of young people are very attracted to it, right? Young people who grow from their parents protecting them to then looking for someone else to protect them, as opposed to becoming fully formed adults who protect themselves and contribute to their culture. A lot of it sounds good, but basically, when you grow up, you realize that instead of having the state be responsible for you, on the more conservative libertarian side, you've got personal responsibility, which is ultimately more empowering and more freeing than being a dependent and a ward of the state. So, just generally speaking on that. Now, she says here, the climate crisis is an existential crisis where everyone must be involved and contribute, Thunberg added. So this is, again, part of the goals of global communism, which is to say, we need everyone involved, right? If you say, when it comes to communism, say 100 years ago, you would have had people say, well, what if some people want to be capitalist and others? No, you can't have that. Everyone in the world must be communist. You can't have people oppressed in any countries. You can't have people oppressing people in any countries. Everyone in the world needs to be a communist. As long as, we are alive, that's the mission we'll fight for. And watermelon green is a slang term for the new environmentalists because they're like watermelons. They're green on the outside, they're commie red on the inside. So statements like this are pretty much part of that. And the Club of Rome came up in the mid-70s with the environmental climate change crisis scam to basically say, wait, instead of having countries, wars are good for strengthening national governments. If our country's at war with their country, we'll rally around our country and our leaders. How do we get a global government? Well, they came up with a couple things. One, the possibility of alien invasions, to scare the whole world into looking to a global government to save them. The second is environmental crises, global cooling, global warming, ozone layer, resource depletion, and so on. That's not to say we shouldn't take care of the environment as a conservationist. But when it comes to the broader sort of we're all going to die in 12 years because the whole earth is threatened by everyone in the world, that is part of their goal of making the earth God and man or humans the enemy, and then having a central government, a world government, say run by the UN and other agencies, kind of manage all of us. So that's the danger with going along with the current thinking widely promoted on climate. Back to this article. The stunt is not the first time the Church of Sweden has supported a, quote, progressive political cause. The left liberal church is well known to endorse social justice viewpoints within its ranks, including dropping the words, quote, Lord and, quote, he when referring to God in 2017. Well, look, ultimately, you could say, well, God is this, and God is a woman, and God is a goddess, and blah, blah, blah. Fair enough, right? You can say God is whatever you want. You can worship false idols, create false idols. You can do whatever the hell you want. But ultimately, what do we look to God for, right? Even atheists, as the old saying goes, there are no atheists in foxholes. And that saying means that when a bunch of soldiers are fighting a bunch of other soldiers on a battlefield, and then they're dug into a hole in the ground, kind of shooting over the top of it, hoping a grenade doesn't land in there and kill them, even the most atheistic soldier, right, where typically if they work a 9-to-5 job and they go to Starbucks and get a coffee and they just shop at IKEA and blah, 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 kind of a corporate clone drone existence, they could be like, oh, I'm such an atheist. Oh, religion sucks. Those people are so superstitious. But when you're getting shot at in a foxhole and there's a chance you might die soon, that's when you go, please, God, save me, get me out of this, right? And it's similar with everybody. Even people that aren't typically religious. Something bad happens when it comes to their finances or their health or their family or whatever. Often they'll go, okay, God, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but please help me. Please protect me, right? So ultimately, when it comes to that type of archetype, who do we generally look for, right? Who do you look for when you want someone to protect you, when you want someone to help you, right? It could be anybody. Right? Anybody could protect anybody. Anybody could help anybody. But there's a scale that works on, right? So, for example, could a 4-year-old protect his 2-year-old sister from the dog playing too rough? Sure. But is the 4-year-old boy or girl or 4-year-old child the archetype that you would look towards to protect you? Generally, probably not, right? Could a woman protect you, right, in terms of some issue you're going through or somebody bothering you and so on? Yeah, probably, right? But if you were in a building and you were on the 15th floor and there were firefighters there and you were kind of woozy from smoke inhalation, right? Would you want a 5'2", 110-pound woman to sort of be climbing up that ladder saying, here to help you, right? Like, oh, great. Or would you want a 6'2", 210-pound man to be climbing up that ladder saying, oh, here to help you. Oh, geez, you seem to be a little woozy from all the smoke inhalation. Here, let me just throw you over my back and carry you down the ladder, right? Just boom, right? So ultimately, when it comes to sort of a source of strength and protection and guidance and wisdom and balls and all that sort of thing, generally speaking, men are and the male and patriarchal and masculine archetype is one that we would all look towards, right? If I've got a bunch of people harassing me, right? A gang of kids out there, a gang of young people is trying to take my stuff or whatever, right? I would rather have 2, 3, 4 huge male cops show up to the point where if they just showed up, those kids would run, right? As opposed to what happened actually in Sweden, where 4 unarmed, as is their practice over there typically, unarmed Swedish female police officers showed up to deal with a migrant going crazy in a migrant no-go zone area of Sweden. And this one 6'2", 6'3", 200-pound man just beat the crap out of all 4 of these female cops. Yeah, these are female Swedish trained cops, right? Probably not the hardest core cops in the world. It is Sweden after all. But it's 4 women, right? And this one migrant guy, right? Male size, male strength, male bone structure, typically more upper body strength, better bone density, right? Male testosterone, aggression, and so on, beat the crap out of these 4 Swedish chicks, right? And they couldn't stop them, right? Whereas typically 4 guys, average guys, could stop a large man, right? Super huge, Andre the Giant, maybe not, but typically a large guy, yeah, probably, right? And so when it comes to dropping the words Lord and He when referring to God in 2017, as this church does, that simply means that the God you're looking to protect you is weaker than the God you'd expect, right? If God showed up like in those ancient archetypal paintings where God is touching the finger of David or whatever, and there's God there, he's typically a big, muscular, badass, wise, bearded old guy, right? He can climb mountains, wrestle grizzly bears, and kick some ass, right? And that's the kind of guy that guys would want protecting him, girls would want protecting him, kids would want protecting him. This is a move away from that archetype and a move away from respecting religion. It's not like girls didn't like the fact that not like girls don't like big, strong guys, right? People are just being brainwashed to sort of reject that archetype. And it says here, the changes to the church handbook, which had been updated last in 1986, now forces priests to refer to God as mother as well as father and use neutral pronouns. And one of the problems with neutral pronouns is they don't convey respect, right? If it's like, oh, hey guys. If I say that to a bunch of hot girls, hey guys, it doesn't respect them for being girls. It doesn't validate them for being girls. It doesn't encourage them to validate me by being graceful and attractive and friendly and feminine, right? It's just sort of like, oh, hey guys, hey guys, nice purse, as opposed to, good afternoon, ladies, or good morning, honey. Or whatever, or hello, ladies, right? And the girl's like, oh, stop, he, and they can be cute that way, right? So, the sort of push towards neutral pronouns is a push away from respect, and respect is what's missing today, right? People are, especially on the left, liberals corrupted by the radical left, and then spreading to everybody through their control of media, academia, education, and so on. You're encouraged not to respect men, not to respect straight people, not to respect organizations and institutions, not to respect religion, not to respect this, not to respect that. And if you're constantly doing that, then eventually you don't respect each other. You don't respect your kids, family, friends, coworkers, strangers, and that's where you lead to this sort of commie zombification of people going on out there, right? So it's important to know why. You can't just be like, well, some insecure, messed up person is pissed off by the fact that you're using sirs and ma'ams and acting like ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's their problem, right? You shouldn't make that everyone else's problem, right? You should not have a problem with other people doing what it takes to make them happy. But convincing us that those people have a problem when sensible LGBT whatever, wouldn't have a problem with it and don't have a problem with it, right? People like Douglas Murray, Dave Rubin, and others, two gay guys who don't have a problem with this stuff. They're like, whatever makes you happy. I want to do what makes me happy. Why would I stop you from doing what makes you happy, right? But in many cases, they're taking mentally ill people and they're encouraging those mentally ill people to have issues and blame everyone else for their issues, like mentally ill people often do. And then they're making people more and more insecure and mentally ill to be easier to control by pushing all these bad ideas on everybody. And that's an issue. And here's another article from Breitbart News. They tweeted Breitbart London, world's first lesbian bishop asks church to remove crosses to install Muslim prayer space. So this is an attack on the religion, right? This is literally an attack on it, right? Now, does that mean Muslims shouldn't have prayer spaces? No. But churches should have crosses and shouldn't have Muslim prayer spaces. This is not a church being progressive. It is a church under attack by certain ideologies as part of globalism meant to weaken it. So back to this article. Members of the Swedish church have also spoken out against deportations of illegal migrants and bogus asylum seekers, with Malmo priest Per Christensen slamming police for raiding a church-sponsored migrant camp holding illegals. Quote, formally they are correct, but we claim that the church must be a protected place for all people, and especially people who are for some reason on the run, he said at the time, right? So basically, yeah, sure, the church should be, there as a place for sanctuary for people who are possibly homeless, right? And people who are down on their luck. Maybe a woman is leaving an abusive husband. Great reasons for the church to be a sanctuary for those peoples. But when it comes to illegals and illegal aliens, right? Those are people that have broken the laws of the country they're in by coming in illegally, right? Which means there was no proper background check on them, which means that you're not sure if they were a criminal in their home country or not, and what their values are and what their ideas are and so on. They aren't properly settled in your country. So you're facilitating that law breaking. Plus, what if they are a lawbreaker? What if they are a robber, rapist, murderer, and so on, right? Should the church protect those people, right? So that's an issue. But again, as part of this sort of pro-open borders push that this Swedish church is reflecting, they're trying to say these are innocent people. And even the Pope himself, Pope Francis, put up a new 140-person sculpture in Vatican Square, the first new sculpture there in 400 years. And it's 140 people sculpted by a Canadian artist meant to represent mass migration and saying you should be kind to travelers, angels walk among us, and so on, right? All nice, fluffy, fun-sounding stuff. And having traveled the world myself, right, I know most people are nice and most people are good, but that's because we have rules and the rule of law and strong, healthy cultures and people being able to do what it is they've always done to make them strong, healthy, proud people, right? In this environment, it's a lot more dangerous, right? And so promoting things like open borders and a weakening of gender norms, a weakening of culture norms, a lack of respect for history and tradition and institutions and what most people like and what makes most people happy, that doesn't make better people. So, a few years ago, hitchhiking used to be very, very normal in North America, right? In the 70s. and because you could typically trust people, right? And people left open doors and so on. People used to backpack, travel through Europe, no problem. But with the open borders policies, it's getting more and more dangerous to do that because they're not careful about who they let in. They're not careful about how it affects their culture, and so on. And so places get progressively less safe with these policies. So you could say you should be nice to everybody. There's good people all around the world, migrants everywhere. See this 140-person sculpture in the Vatican? It means we should be nice to travelers, nice to wanderers, nice to strangers, because they could be nice people. Sure, I agree, right? But you shouldn't do things that fundamentally weaken your cultural character or your borders or what makes people happy, right? That's the issue. Back to this article. Priests Peter England and Helena Merstener, also from Malmo, even went so far as to demand the church, along with the rest of Sweden, stop celebrating the country's national day, claiming it was poison, right? So these priests at this church, at this quote-unquote progressive church, are saying you can't even celebrate the national day of Sweden, their independence, their patriot, celebration, because it is poison, right? So they want to take the country of Sweden, with 10, 15 million people, whatever it is, relatively small country, a very unique culture, unique language, unique accents, unique heritage, unique traditions, unique everything, and say, that stuff that you people liked, that made you so proud, that made you a wonderful culture of great people, that people were either happy to visit if you visited Sweden, or people were happy to see if Swedish people visited other countries. Yeah, all that's got to go, right? So what you'll then have is you'll have a bunch of Swedes that are feeling crappy and turned into crap because everything that they were proud of and that defined them, they now have to reject. And then a bunch of migrants that show up in a crappy Sweden and go, how the hell am I supposed to integrate, right? And this is a big problem with the lack of assimilation in Western countries. As Western people get more and more cucked up, right? As you're like, well, can't be a straight up guy, don't lie, look you in the eye, cool, polite and brief, stay busy or friendly to be respected, firm handshake, keep it moving, girls same, or shy contact instead of eye contact, attractive, friendly, gracefully distracting, confident, masculine strength, meets and confirms the same, safe space for confident, feminine vulnerability, attractive, good-looking, ladies and gentlemen, teaching kids to be, communicating well, and making a great place to live with great people. All of that is under attack as part of this process, right? And that's a huge problem that migrants are having these days when it comes to assimilation, because they get to cucked up, self-hating countries like Sweden, and they go, why the hell would I integrate with these people? They hate themselves. They hate this country. They're fine with anything that's done to them. Do I want to integrate with that? No. I'll just kick it with my migrant homies. We'll form gangs. We'll rob, rape, and murder people because it's better than assimilating, right? It's like if you get to America, right? You'd want to go to America, for example, as a global example. Say, America, I made it to America. Oh, I want blue jeans, baseball hats, baseball, camping, fishing, hunting, big cars, rock and roll. Yeah, right? And you want to do all the fun things that would make you proud to be an American. Well, what if America hated all that stuff? What if America's like, no, baseball sucks, and hunting, fishing, okay, and sports this, and men, no, not that. No, it's never great. How would those people assimilate? How would migrants assimilate, right? So part of the cultural division problems that countries are having right now, especially in the West, is cucked up Canadians, cucked up Americans, cucked up French, cucked up Swedes, cucked up Brits, and cucked up others in the Western world are not providing a culture that migrants can assimilate with. Now, mass migration, open borders, bad idea, whatever. But any migration would suck if the country you're migrating to had no self-respect and pride in who they were and where they lived. So that's causing some major problems and something that we have to fight against. If you look at the big picture, so why aren't these people assimilating? Who are they assimilating with? A country that doesn't protect its borders or its people or its culture or its traditions or its sovereignty, that doesn't respect men and women, that don't teach kids to? Why? Why would you assimilate with that, right? So that's an issue. So back to this article. Now, this pair of priests, Peter England and Helena Merstener, also from Malmo, say, patriotism has its roots in the patriarchal thinking that celebrates traditional masculinity as strength, competition, inequality, and reduces men to soldiers and women to mothers. It goes without saying that this does not create good conditions for a world without borders, the pair said. So to unpack that, as the type of this, as the title of this video suggests, right? Traditional masculinity, strength. Are we not supposed to be? Do guys like guys that are weak, wimpy, bitchy, messed up? No. Do girls? No. Do kids? Does anybody like weak men? No. Right? So why would you attack that? Right? As a male, character trait. Part of the patriarchy and masculinity. What about competition? Right? Well, competition is part of what builds character. Right? So why would you attack that, especially among guys, right? Where men are more individual and competitive, women are more collectivist and herd-like, right? And this isn't to say that nobody can't be smart or different. It's to say that this is what defines us, and this is what makes us happy. And if people want to do something different than that, with a bunch of people that are happy, it's not a problem. That's how the Western world developed up till this point. You can't say, oh, well, this is, it's like, the West is racist. Why do all these minorities want to come here? They were a bunch of nice white people, right? Because they had self-respect and they had pride and so on, right? And it's a bunch of nice men and women, right? Because they had self-respect and pride and they respected each other and they were able to, using traditional gender norms, right? And inequality. Well, inequality is an interesting word, right? Inequality is something that's always there, right? It's always there. No two people are the same, so no two people can be equal. It's not possible. Some people are taller, some people are shorter, some people are better looking, some people are not, some people are smarter, some people are dumber, and so on, right? As Stefan Molyneux, from Free-Domain Radio, world-famous philosopher, probably the most famous philosopher in the world, says, to battle inequality, right, and poverty, and so on, and some of the issues that the radical left often goes on about, the best thing is the free market, free enterprise system. Why? Because it allows for inequality to flourish, but it allows for the smartest and best people and most capable people to produce the most wealth and the most opportunity, right? So you could say we all need to be equal, right? Equal. It sucks that there are people that are better looking, people that are ugly, people that are smarter than others, people that are not, it sucks, right? So we all need to be equal. Well, then you wouldn't have, for generic examples, a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk creating great new products, great wealth and opportunity for everybody else. You would have a bunch of equal slaves underneath a communist or socialist government. So inequality won't be solved by making everyone the same. And it's not possible to make everyone the same. You just have to keep hammering at that until everyone's the same, right? But even if you're against inequality, you shouldn't be for socialism because it doesn't create the conditions to help people get out of inequality. It just makes everyone equally poor, right? Look at Venezuela, super rich country 20 years ago. Now people are eating dogs and cats, and in some cases I've heard each other because they've run out of food. Now it's got a lot of resources. It's just horribly mismanaged by a government, a socialist communist government that's hammering at people. They've all got to be equal and equally poor, and it's the government's job to beat inequality as opposed to say, no, inequality is just a fact. It's just a fact. But if we're allowed to be free and prosperous and we're allowed to do and say things and act in ways that make us happy, then we can help each other out, right? Help each other out. If people are in a good mood, they're more likely to donate to charity, give to that homeless guy sitting on the street. If people are all messed up because of all this brainwashing, they're more likely to be selfish and ignore them. So it works. And then it says here, reduces men to soldiers and women to mothers. Well, that's an ideal archetype, right? Men soldiers protecting the women, protecting the babies, right? This has been typically men's role as protector and provider for thousands of years, right? Women were often stuck pregnant and they had to take care of the kids and breastfeed. So you can't just be like, whatever, bro. Everyone for themselves, right? Men have to be like, no. Gotta protect, gotta provide, gotta, help make sure she's okay, right? So that's a great soldier archetype. And women to mothers. They're saying this reduces men to soldiers and reduces women to mothers, right? When in reality, when people are noble about it and good at it, being a soldier is among the things we most honor as cultures traditionally. Now, it can be misused. There's bad wars, there's bad governments in charge, and so on. But a soldier acting nobly and heroically in defense of their people and their nation, their land, that is the highest male archetype there is. And a woman being a wonderful mother, being the ultimate beautiful, graceful, feminine, nurturing female, is the ultimate archetype, right? Guys are like, wow, I love it. She's a great girl. She would make a great wife. And kids love it. So men love it, women love it, kids love it, right? So they're saying here, reduces men to soldiers and reduces women to mothers, right? And again, this is the sort of attack on the things that we like. And finally, it says here, it goes without saying that this does not create good conditions for a world without borders. So that shows you their goal, right? When I say all these things are weakening people so they can't defend themselves and where they live and each other and their countries and traditions and heritage and so on, they're saying the same thing too, just in a roundabout kind of sneaky way, right? So that is the quote. For a world without borders. And this article ends, Swedish bishop claims he is, quote, looking forward to hearing Muslim call to prayer in Sweden, right? So this guy's looking for, so this is again a Swedish bishop who shouldn't necessarily be anti-Islam, but shouldn't be endorsing Islam to take over. It's like your business is Christianity. Why are you promoting Islam? Maybe you shouldn't be hating Islam, but you shouldn't be like, oh, as a Christian, as a Swedish bishop, I can't wait till the Muslim call to prayer is all over the place. Oh, that'll be so awesome, right? That's the type of self-hatred, even among sort of religions, that you can see in Sweden. And there you have it. So basically, what's the solution? Well, at manforwars.com, I've kind of documented extensively what's happened to people, the sort of anti-human, anti-nice, happy, busy, or look, talk, or feel good mass zombiosis going out there, rude, sketchy zombiosis, makes it hard for people to respect each other enough to look, talk, or feel good with each other or teach kids to. So we've got to deal with that. Promote Be Nice, which everyone likes, right? Make sure that people offline can talk. Online we can have vlogs, videos, social media, and so on, but it's often censored into digital ghettos. And then that's online. And then offline, if people have trouble communicating, then the default will be the rude, sketchy mass zombiosis. You could be a patriot. This sucks. This country sucks. We need to do something. We need to blah, blah. And then offline, oh, nope, you're insecure, cucked up mess. Me too, right? In the ways that is fashionable. It's like, well, you can be a patriot online, but when you go to work, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about anything, because everything's political. So just don't talk. Be a corporate clone or a corporate drone, right? That gets worse when people aren't polite. So promote Be Nice, promote polite, and so on. And then when it comes to that, and people acting nice enough to talk, then it's easier for more empowered people to be informed and say or hear get bad guys too, right? Because if people are disempowered, right? If they're not nice to each other, if they're not empowered, if they don't act in ways where they feel respect, self-respect, and they show and get it with others, then everything becomes harder, right? That's part of this process of sort of dumbing us down and weakening us, is saying, no, you can't say, good morning, sir. How dare you say, sir? What if some person who hates gender pronouns is offended? But that's how I respect that guy. And that's how that guy respects me. No, that third party's offended. Okay, no more, sir. Or you go to the coffee shop. Oh, good morning, honey. Right? No, how dare you? That person's offended. That's offensive. Okay. Hey. Yeah, no, I'll get a coffee. Okay, that'll be $2. All right, thanks. That's not an empowering interaction between a man and a woman, right? So promote be nice, which everyone likes. And then it makes it easier for people to say or hear get bad guys too. At least you won't have insecure, messed up people stopping everyone from doing that. And then the usual meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, flyers, and more typically work. You put them out there consistently, meetings, meet with each other, communicate face-to-face in person, meet and greet tables. You've got a table, you've got some info, posters, flyers, DVDs, whatever. You sit there. People come up to you because you're nice. They talk about what your interests are, right? This is how people often get the fluoride out of their water supplies in different jurisdictions, because a bunch of locals get together. Other people see them. First, you might think they're crazy, but if there's more than one of them, not too crazy to make a friend. If they are carrying themselves as proud, polite patriots, then they don't seem that bad. Some people interact with them, and over time, they push. They get public support. They get some independent and then mainstream media support. Then they get political support at the city council level. Boom, fluoride's gone. Right? So that's typically how it works. So meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, and flyers, and more can consistently empower people offline where you live. And this is very much more of a male thing to do, right? Now, there are women that can get involved and so on, no doubt. But it involves a bit of risks. It involves a bit of danger. It involves physical efforts and so on. For example, I was with a group a few years ago called Toronto Truth Seekers, and we did the same thing: meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, and flyers. And me and half a dozen guys or whatever would go out hitting the streets of Toronto, putting up posters places, putting flyers places, flyering cars. We were really worked up about some of the issues that were going on, where we live and in general, and trying to inform and empower people. And nobody minded. People didn't mind, right? Now, there's a couple of situations here and there where you might get the parking lot security guard kind of shooing you away, or the cops, but they all know that you're not bad guys. They all know that you're not trying to commit a crime in the traditional sense of, I want to benefit from this crime. I want to get some money, or I want to get some power over you, whatever, right? It's like, even if you're committing some sort of, minor transgressive crime or misdemeanor, you're doing it to help people. So people are generally nice. And so that's what I recommend out there, is groups of men kind of worldwide where you live kind of take action on this. Because as I said in the start of this video, corrupt Swedish church admits patriarchal masculinity is needed to protect borders. And that's going to be a key. And hopefully this article and video help explain that. So I'll put a link below. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with questions, ideas to work together, or financial support. Otherwise, BK Black Krishna from ManForWars.com. Hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.